everyone. Welcome back for real this time. We had attempted to start, but there was a gremlin in the works, and, it's now officially a Jeremy game. So, welcome to episode 35 of Beneath the Banner Shadow. This is a D&D campaign that is based largely in Arthurian legend, in a homebrew world of mine known as Rostfiend, particularly in a kingdom known as Vykaril. Tonight's episode is titled Forfeiture of a Sister, and I'm really, really excited to dive in. As you can see, we were down at least one player this evening. Eli, we will miss you. Hope you're having a great time. Hopefully Josh will be joining us midstream here in just a little bit, but I think we're going to go ahead and try to get things started. So, if you don't like foul language or mature dark subject matter is a problem for you, then don't watch this game, please. What else? Oh yes, a deep heart. Sure, deep heart sounds like a Care Bear. A deep heartfelt thank you to Rachel Ayers and Augusto, the two artists who did some of the work for what you can see on the screen here. The Shieldhouses were done by Rachel, and this beautiful character art that you can see was done by Augusto. So thank you so much for making our game prettier. Yeah, so I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can introduce themselves, tell you where you might be able to find them on the internet or what they might have going on, and then I think we're going to get started. So we're going to start, again for real this time. Baron, take it away.
Hey everybody, I'm Baron. I play D&D online sometimes. I'm reprising my role as Masakator, the rough and tumble knight of the Angorshire. Really, I'm just bumbling my way through the city. Setting, brother. Happy to be here. I don't really plug anything else anymore. So.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Totally fair. You are enough, Baron, even if you don't have anything to plug. I'm just glad that you're here. You're welcome. All right. Speaking of glad that they're here, Karen, you're next.
Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, also known as Myth and Gears. I don't have anything to plug right now. And tonight I get to play Ariana, who is just following around Tord in his massive big footsteps as he's clumsy and just going about doing who knows what. Doing it, well, actually kind of great, actually. So what you got to say about that?
Well, I'm sure that everything in the long run is going to work out just fine.
I mean, he's a sir now, and he's got all these followers and these people he's got to take care of. I mean, the man's going places. Unfortunately, it could be downhill, but who knows?
The night is young, after all.
We don't know exactly where we're going. We're going somewhere.
It's kind of a meandering, kind of like spirally type pattern. If you look at the map, sometimes when I play Sea of Thieves, I look back at like where it's traced the ship movement, like where I've gone. Like I look like I'm drunk. All right, so not looking like you're drunk. Last but certainly not least, Steve.
Haha, who says I'm not? Oh wait, no, I'm not. Yeah, so glad to be here. Like it's been a while. Like we're like 2 months, right? Like what were we, like March 7th last time? Missed an April game, late May game. Not that my sister watches this, but it's my sister's birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Steve's sister.
I'm old, so she's slightly less old by 2 years. So that's good. I won't throw any numbers out. Yeah, I don't have anything to plug right now, although with my new schedule, I am trying to get into like a every other week or once a month game. So I'll be talking to some of these people about that. And maybe Karen's trying to get into something because she messaged me the other day and was like, hey, what's your schedule look like? And I was like, it's insane. But, we'll see. So I do love hanging out with all these people. They're like my online family. So I've missed them for a couple of very long, tough months, man. It's been quite the roller coaster. Train ran me over on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Railroad roller coaster. You get what I'm saying. So
no, I totally get it.
Let's just get into the happy fun stuff of my sister who hates me and wants to kill me. Not my real life sister, because she's not here, but the one in the game.
Right. Your imaginary sister. Speaking of railroads, let's get this show. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, man, I'm super happy that that you stuck with this game for as long as you have, through all of the tough ins and outs, and especially scheduling issues and things like that. It's been good. Yeah. I cannot wait to continue the story for these characters because, like Steve pointed out, it has been a couple of months since we've managed to get together, yeah, this campaign is just incredible. Like I said, it's been ongoing for some time, and these characters are very much like real people, and a lot of the things that are happening to them have a large impact on me, even knowing some of the things that are coming. So lots and lots of fun so far, and I know there's plenty more in store. So without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get started unless there's any questions. No. All right. Here we go. Each of us inherently possesses a need to be needed. We crave this sense of belonging, to be a part of a group who accepts us for who we are and who we are not. We want to belong to a tribe who desires our nearness in some capacity. And when we feel shut out from the tribe we thought we belonged to, this intrinsic yearning can lead us into the open arms of a group who may only look to us for what they may yet stand to gain. We rejoin the five of you and your small entourage, where you have come to the town of Wintingham, the home of House Livell. The reason you've come is because Dane's aunt Candace has been convinced that Dane's missing sister, Nolani, might be behind the strange happenings that are surrounding a place now being called the Smoldering Sycamore, a tree that has been burning slowly for a month or so without ever actually catching fire. And while Sir Dane and Ari have gone to investigate, Lord Eddard, Sir John, and Sir Tord have chosen to remain behind in the town. Tord, what is it that the three of you are currently doing, or what is it that Tord is currently up to in the town of Wintingham?
Wrong keyboard. We had plans to stay here for at least 1 or more days, at least presumably. So I imagine we secured lodgings as well as like stabling. At least,
Yeah, certainly.
in my mind. I don't know what like the local inn is called, but we would have gone to. If there's more than one, perhaps like a secondary, less frequented one.
Okay, yeah, so Wintingham is a fairly new town, maybe like in the last 20 to 30 years. So even like the lower end inn would be something that was fairly new, had not been around for very long. So you can certainly find comfortable lodgings that would be moderately priced, nothing too extravagant, but it would definitely be comfortable.
Then I would have done that alongside Eddard and John. I don't really know how long Ariana and Dane would be gone for, so perhaps get some food as well. I mean, I don't really anticipate that they're going to do anything crazy. From what I remember, they're just going to investigate briefly and come back.
Yeah, and from what I remember of us covering last session, they would have probably been gone probably at least an hour or two. because there was some investigation of both the tree and the nearby obelisk. That was
So
standing.
actually, I think perhaps after like that hour goes by and like Sir John, Eddard, and I have all eaten like our food, and like their plates are still there and like cold at this point. I think Tord would probably go just check on them, excusing himself from John and Eddard to go find them.
Perfect. Okay. So it is after you have kind of gone off into the woods, kind of learning the direction of where this tree is supposedly at. It's not far outside of town. I would say 5-10 minute walk, kind of at most. So you are making your way towards the clearing where you've kind of been told where this tree is, and you can kind of smell it a little bit on the air. This kind of, the smell of burnt wood. And as you're kind of approaching this clearing, you can hear voices talking to one another. You recognize one of them is Dane, and the other one sounds like a young woman, and they're definitely bickering with one another. There's some argument that is taking place. And before you can even breach the edge of the clearing, you can see, hold on. You can see this large tree that kind of dominates the middle of the clearing and has carvings all up and down its length. All of the life from it has been burned away. All of the leaves are gone. All of the smaller branches and twigs are gone. The grass around it has kind of like burned and smoldered into basically a circle around it. And you can see that the tree is glowing with this kind of internal heat that it is putting off. And then back behind the tree on a small hill that's not very far away, you can see this strange looking obelisk that rises up out of the surrounding forest. Dane, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were somewhere nearish to the tree? Is that right?
Yeah. So I believe I was kind of looking at the tree when we got like the silhouetted image of Milani, and before she started spouting off nonsense about me being a witch killer and et cetera, and telling me I was a horrible person for leaving home and how this is all my fault. Yeah. So right there-ish, like close enough to be able to feel the warmth coming off of it and getting that sort of like weird buzzing sensation from that obelisk in the distance.
Yeah, and you remember from, since it was just moments ago with your characters, that when you investigated the obelisk, that it definitely has some strange properties to it.
Weren't like the carvings like molten and still like...
Yes.
Yeah,
they're like gold that has been inlaid, but the inlay is all like molten. It's not flowing out of the obelisk, it's staying in place, but it's definitely liquid and it's hot. The stone itself is hot to the touch.
There was some question of like the magic or the energy is radiating off of it versus the tree, kind of like a chicken egg sort of question.
Your sensation was that they're definitely tied to one another somehow in an arcane way, and you noticed that being close to the obelisk, you felt your own magic kind of inaccessible, like the parts of your the rust on your arm like actually started to like bleed and like flake off of you.
Right. And we had noticed that the stone that this is made out of might be from an old god temple that was in this area beforehand, right?
Yes, this obelisk was erected in this place because there was an old temple here. They tore down the temple and they built this instead. The virtuous divinity followers came through and did this about 30 years ago or so. Okay, so you are standing kind of close enough to feel the heat coming off of this smoldering sycamore. Ari, I know that you have hidden somewhere. Where is it that you have found to hide yourself? How far away are you from Dane?
I'm probably about 60 feet or so from Dane. Far enough that I can shoot arrows if I need to be, and I can, get to some other place, but also close enough that if they're talking loudly, I can hear what's being said.
Okay. So if you're 60 feet from Dane, then you're probably far enough that you can be in the trees, kind of at the edge of this clearing. So you might have found, a standing of a couple of trees that are, thick enough that you can kind of hide amongst them. So Tord, you're kind of arriving from the direction of the town to this clearing, and you can see Dane, but you don't see anyone else. You heard this secondary voice, and then in an instant, like, Dane seems to kind of shift. I would imagine, Dane, that your body posture changes because, while you have been having this conversation with your sister, when it became clear that you were at an impasse, all of a sudden her shape changes. And you see that she becomes a herd of cats. She just seems to almost like melt into these cat shapes that jump off of one another and disappear into the underbrush of the woods. So, Tord, you see Dane's kind of posture change all of a sudden, as if things have now become, dire. Things have now become ready for battle. So, all of you please roll for initiative. Ooh, got some big numbers already. Let's see. Ari, Dane, Tord. Okay. Tord, do me a favor, roll a d6.
3.
3. Okay, thank you, sir. You are in the same initiative order as one of the combatants in this, and they ended up winning the toss-off, so they'll get to go, and then you go. Okay. So, first up is Ari. Ari, from your position, you at least can see Dane. I'll leave it kind of up to you whether or not you could see Neolani, like if you had positioned yourself so that you could still see her outline before she kind of disappeared.
Oh yeah, I would have definitely, because I wanted to have, in case it went sideways, I wanted to be able to help him out. And things have gone sideways. But she's just disintegrated into cats. Yeah.
It is true.
Okay, so I would like to ready an action that if
Okay.
that if something attacks Dane, I will shoot it.
Excellent. All right. So you kind of, you pull your arrow kind of taut on your bow, and kind of like hold it, kind of, keeping your elven ears attentive to the sounds of the forest around you. And you wait, bide your time. That brings us to Dane.
And so like these cats, as my sister sort of morphs into them, and they sort of go bounding off in like different directions, I would imagine, right? They sort of like peel off and like into the wood line. Yeah. Awesome. Um so I think Dane like instinctively takes a step back away from this tree, maybe a bit more onto like the path I imagine that's been worn near it as people have come to see this tree. And I think we see like these tears running down his face, and those there it's that stream of anger and confusion and disappointment and hurt that really only family can do to you, right? Like they're the people that cause that. And you he tightens his hand, and I think instinctively Celestial is like just in his hand, like it just pops. Lonnie, it doesn't have to be like this. I'm going to as I'm doing this, I'm casting heroism on myself.
Okay, excellent.
And so these tears, as Dane starts to like wipe them away, and they are becoming muddy and rusty in the flaking of his magic and just the anguish of what's going on. I think we start seeing like the ground at Dane's feet start to become a little damp. There's a bit more water than should be there as he's standing in this bit of a worn path. I wasn't trying to leave you. Please, let me help.
You plea to kind of the woods around you, the direction that you just saw your sister moments before. The only response that you get back is this disharmonious mewing from a multitude of cats. It's kind of hard to even pinpoint where they might all be. And suddenly that mewing kind of takes on a little bit of a strangeness, almost like a whisper that you hear kind of echoing throughout the trees as the wind in the woods around you kind of picks up a little bit, and the leaves begin to kind of rustle, almost masking this whispering noise. But you realize that there is this undertone that sounds like a language that is being spoken. And then you hear another noise in the woods. And all three of you have no problem hearing this noise. I don't know if you have, as players, have ever heard the sound of like a tree that's rotten falling all at once. That kind of halfway between breaking and tearing that rotten wood makes. You hear that sound. And it's kind of this enormous crash. Not very far away. And then you hear another. Something is getting closer.
From which direction? Like behind me or from across the clearing?
From the direction where Noelani was. Okay. The sound creeps ever closer, and you're certain that you can hear something. Maybe multiples of something that is plodding its way through the forest towards your clearing. Tord.
think we got Josh.
We do have a Josh. I'm going to get everybody juggled around, hopefully, quickly here so that we can...
I'm just
what you doing, Baron?
So Tord rides into this clearing. He sees Dane. I do not see Ari. I'm not even looking for you at this point because I hear something approaching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call out, Dane, are you all right? Kind of just ambient to what's going on, but at the same time, I'm going to cast Crusader's Mantle. So my more traditional Angorian armor, a looser leather than I had been wearing previously, kind of encrusted with the Horse Lord's iconography. Over top that, a more primal adornment kind of lays. You see like an elk skull lay over top of his head, as well as like pauldrons made of like hip bones and ribs. This kind of ends in a spine that goes down towards back, and a spectral pauldron, as well as like a right gauntlet comes over. Everybody in a 30-foot radius of, I think it's radius, maybe it's dang, I'll find out in a second, has a d4 of additional radiant damage on their attacks. And I'm going to ride up to Dane as far as I can get, so I am adjacent to him. I don't know how far away I am, but I imagine horseback. Are we horseback? Can I be horseback?
I would imagine, since you're approaching from the town, that you certainly could be. There are parts of the woods where it gets a little difficult to remain on horseback, but you could certainly be on horseback for the moment.
Yeah, as long as I'm in the grove, I will be on my horse at the very least.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yep. Yeah, you can certainly ride it within the clearing. You can feel that heat coming off of that tree anytime that you get near it.
Truthfully, I don't know if I would have paid much attention directly to the tree, as I am just kind of moving towards Dane.
Fair.
He is like my primary focus.
Gotcha. Roger that. Uh-oh. That's not what I wanted to push. Awesome. Okay. So you ride into this clearing. Suddenly, Dane, you see Tord is beside you on horseback. And his head's kind of on a swivel, looking for, the source of the noise that you're hearing now, kind of crashing through the woods. Josh, do me a favor, roll initiative. We're just going to say that you came with Tord, unless you would have rather had remained at the city.
I believe we did say that we were leaving together. We were like doing a really basic rudimentary check-in, and then we headed off to find where everybody else was.
Perfect.
Let me get that for you.
Excellent. Okay. So Tord, you're kind of looking around, trying to find where this sound is coming from, what it is that could be causing this kind of crashing through the woods. Everyone, if you would please roll perception checks for me. You're going to be at disadvantage unless you have some kind of special vision that lets you see in dim light. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so Tord and Eddard, neither of you see this. However, Ari and Dane, the two of you can see not one, but 4 shapes that are kind of lumbering through the woods. They're roughly bear size or shape. Potentially might have antlers on their heads. It's kind of hard to tell at this point.
So as the horse sort of comes to the stop next to me, I look up at Tord and I suppose probably Eddard. So I imagine they're both like on the heels of each other. And like again, you can see where Dane's been crying and like this muddy, rusty water pouring out of his eyes. It's my sister, Tord.
I don't see anyone.
Whatever is coming after us is something that she sent, or it's her, or both. I heard her, Tord, and they changed her.
Then we'll get her back.
Like you see Dane like struggling to stand tall. Like this is probably the shortest he's looked in a long time as he's trying to come to grips with this.
As the three of you kind of in the clearing kind of have this exchange with one another, Ari, where you spotted these lumbering forms through the woods, one of them kind of passes through a dappled patch of sunlight kind of coming down through the trees, well enough that you're able to see it in decent detail. It is the lead of this group of four and is close to breaching the tree line into the clearing. When you get a good look at it, you realize why these things were kind of difficult to spot at first, because they don't look like normal creatures. They are the size and shape of bears, but they seem to be covered in spines and antlers and draped with moss and greenery all over them. But you can see the face of this creature well enough, and it certainly looks like the skull of a bear. This thing comes crashing through the forest, just knocking small trees down in its path. It is your turn. It has not yet reached the clearing where the other three are.
It's my turn again?
It is your turn again.
Oh, that was quick. Does it look near like scary like that thing where it has like skull face and
Yes,
teeth and stuff?
absolutely.
Then
I mean,
I'm
some might call it scary, but
that arrow that I was saving for something that would attack Dane is going to get redirected into that thing. I'm going to shoot it.
all right. So yeah, you don't have to use your ready action because it's your turn again. So you can take your full. Do you get two attacks?
I was just checking that. Yes, I can attack twice.
Okay.
Yes, and it's considered magical when it leaves the bow, but my bow is not magical, but it's considered magical. And I don't think I have anything really exciting about it. I will actually use a bonus action to, where's my little thing? Make this a. Sorry, it's been so long since we played.
That's fair.
Y'all
are decent level too, so.
Make it a Kensei. So I'm making this my Kensei shot. Bonus action to deal extra D4 damage with this weapon till end of turn. Okay, so
yes, you kind of charge it with some of your elven monk energies or something.
Yeah, it's just basically I'm aiming, I guess, real hard.
Focusing real hard.
Real hard.
I really want to shoot this thing.
I'll roll both arrows at a time. Oof, that was terrible rolls. Okay, so first arrow is hit of 10.
That is a miss.
Yeah, I figured so. Second one is an 18.
That will hit, however.
Okay, so that will be for 10 plus 3 is 13 points of magical piercing damage.
Okay.
And I think everything else is based on melee attacks. So with my... Oh, I can actually spend a key point to do an extra d8 damage with this shot that made it. So I will. So add another 4 points.
Another 4 points?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember that. Or I'll remember it. Okay. So you shoot twice, the first of which you just kind of misjudge the speed at which this thing is kind of crashing through the woods, and you can just hear it kind of like kind of sail off through the branches and leaves of the lower trees. But the second shot, however, finds its mark and pierces this thing's what sounds like leathery, bony hide, maybe even somewhat wooden. Okay. Ari, you have fired your shots. And the tree begins to glow. The carvings in it brighten a bit. Those of you who are kind of in the clearing can feel like a burst of heat, kind of like waves, kind of moves in a wave away from the tree. And let me see what... I lost a note. Okay. And everyone is going to need to make a charisma saving throw, please. Oh my god, wow. Holy crap. Wow, okay. Tord, Dane, and Eddard, without any issue whatsoever, you shrug off the effects of the smoldering sycamore. However, Ari, you are caught in this wave, caught unawares. Perhaps you were focusing so much on this creature. You have Bane cast upon you, which means that all of your attacks, saving throws, and ability checks, question mark, will get a -4 for the next minute. Minus D4, sorry, minus 1D4. Okay. All of you can kind of hear the tree kind of make this groaning crackle somewhere between like the snapping of wood and the burning of logs in a fire. Dane, it is your turn.
All right. Seeing this this very strange thing, I think Dane just sticks out his hand, and we see that welling of amber energy coalesce at the end of his hand as the flaking intensifies, and these little flakes of skin / rust, blood start to flake off, and some of them sort of float towards this tree, and I imagine they just burst completely into flame as they get close to it. And this radiant bolt launches from Dean's hand towards this monster. I imagine a natural 29 will hit it.
Yes, it will.
Okay. Holy Jeebus. Yeah, that's going to be 74 points of damage.
I'm sorry. Did you say 74?
Yeah, yeah, because it's radiant damage and Celestial Warlock, I boost that, I critted, and I cast it at the highest level possible as a Warlock.
Okay.
So yeah, so he just his hand
Wow.
shoots out, and you can hear the sound, and it's normally this murmur of like a brook or lapping water, and instead we hear this crashing wave, and this bolt just streaks from his hand, and Dane screams, "Lonnie, it doesn't have to be like this!" And the bolt does what it does.
Yeah. Is this the same one that Ari had just shot, or is this another one of these creatures?
This would be the one that Ari has not shot. This would be maybe one that yeah, maybe one more towards the center of the group.
Okay.
But yeah, just a separate one.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, you can describe what it looks like as this magic undoes this one creature.
So this crashing of a wave and this amber sort of golden energy rushes through it, and much like the smoldering sycamore, we see these runes light, things that have been carved into this eldritch beast as part of its creation, begin to be washed with this golden energy, and it starts to glow, and you get the feeling that it's about to explode. But instead what we see is this thing's legs bite to the ground, these tendrils of roots snap into the dirt, and this flower, this white lily looking flower, blooms off the tip of one of the antlers as this thing just becomes inert and is now just a fugly little tree with the magic having just been ripped from it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's like mid like stride, and you just kind of hear that kind of like that tightening noise of like wood creaking as it just kind of like becomes, like you said, completely motionless in this kind of mid run. Awesome. Okay. That was Dane. Okay. Dane, if you would please make a perception roll. Tord and Eddard, you can make this roll as well. This one would not be at disadvantage. So, all three of you realize that just before this happens, you see a number of these black cats that are kind of making their way through the grass, kind of from different directions, converging on Dane. And you notice just as they kind of like converge on one another, and as they kind of close the distance between themselves and Dane, they slowly like jump on one another's backs and things of that nature, and slowly become the shape of a young woman once again. Dane, you can see Noelani now standing before you, having reconstituted, if you will, kind of out of this amalgamation of black cats. She looks different. As of right now, her eyes are very feline, this kind of yellow color with slitted pupils, very bestial. Her hair has kind of become darker and a little coarser, and everywhere where you can see skin on her body, it looks like bark, not unlike your rusted arms, but hers seems to be made of hardened wood. She has come up about 30 feet away from you, and as she comes up, you can see she too has tears that have been streaming down her face. And she says, "It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't have to be like this. Lonnie, please don't. I'm so sick of hearing you, Dane. You're always complaining about everything. Everything's just has to be Dane's way. Not anymore. And she reaches one of her arms out, and as she does so, you can see the bark on her arm begins to flower, like the creature that you just rendered inert. But where your magic was the removal of arcane energy from this creature, the motion that Lonnie is making is imparting magic as you watch her arm lengthen and increase into a whip that is ripe with brambles and thorns that she then brings crashing down on you, or attempts to. What is your AC?
16.
Okay. She's going to hit you with a dirty 20. So this whip full of brambles and thorns wraps itself around your torso. You're going to take 7 points of piercing damage, and you are yanked 10 feet closer to her.
So as that happens, you see this steam rise from Dane's skin as the moisture that's normally around him as he casts begins to burn off, and you see this flame start to light from his skin. Other casters and paladins might recognize it as a hellish rebuke. And at the last moment, you can see that he stifles the spell, refusing to let it happen.
Okay, fantastic. All right. The remaining 3 of these creatures, these antlered bear-like creatures, come crashing out of the woods and into the clearing. The one that was shot with Ari's bow, with her arrow, has now kind of careened from its original path and is now heading for Ari. The other 2, one of them is headed towards Horse. The other is headed towards Eddards. As they near and pick up speed, they lower these large racks of antlers downward and are going to lead their charge with those. All right. Ari, the one that has run towards you has likewise lowered its antlers and is going to attempt to ram you. What is your AC?
17.
And is going to hit you. Okay. You're going to take bludgeoning damage. To the point of 17 points of bludgeoning. And because it moved in a 20-foot line before it hit you with its ram, you need to... you're going to take... Oh my god. You're going to take 11 more points of bludgeoning damage. And you need to make a strength saving throw.
Strength saving throw.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget, you are also subject of a bane currently.
Can I give her a bardic inspiration die as a bonus action?
Can you? Is that a feature that you can do?
Bardic inspiration?
Yeah, I don't know when bardic inspiration usually is doled out.
Yeah, on bonus actions. I don't know if that would be just during my turn or not.
Yeah, bonus actions, are only on your turn. Okay. But there's a lot of different, some colleges do all kinds of crazy things with bardic inspiration, so I didn't know if it was, something that you had or not.
It's not my forte.
Understood. Okay. So
you ready for this?
yeah, I'm
This
ready.
whopping big number?
9.
9. Yeah.
Okay. So, Ari, this thing bowls you over like a runaway cart.
Yeah.
It slams into you and takes you completely off of your feet. You are now prone on the ground in front of it. Okay. Tord, what is your horse's armor class?
That is a good question.
You have Find Steed, right? Is that the horse that you ride?
Correct.
Okay.
I think it might be mine, but I don't want to say that for certain.
Yeah, I think it might be that good, but it might be just like a war
The
horse.
steed has the statistics of the chosen form: Celestial, Fey, Fiend. It's a normal type.
Mm-hmm. We decided yours was an Angorian steed, right?
Yeah, so that's a war horse. It'd be the stats of the war horse. I can pull it up.
Should be in the back of the player's handbook, I think.
It most certainly is. Sitting at an armor class of 11.
Okay. This thing
Dude,
crashes.
kill my horse.
This thing crashes hard into the side of your horse with these lowered antlers. Your horse is going to take. Oh my god, man. Okay, your horse is going to take 15 points of bludgeoning damage, and because it did move 20 feet in a line and was able to ram, it's going to take. Guys. Like, I might have to start rolling different dice. An additional 12 points of bludgeoning, and it needs to make a strength saving throw.
No, it doesn't.
Now,
it's dead.
Okay. This thing slams into the side of your horse, and what does it look like as like the magic that kept your steed here is undone or reversed?
It's very hard to determine that it is magic at first. Like you see the horns impact the side of my horse, the front or the haunch. I don't know horses, the front part.
Flank.
There you go.
Front flank, yeah.
And like the horns bite in, you see like the torrents of blood emerge, but like the blood doesn't drip onto the ground. It kind of dissipates. And it's almost like I'm thrown from a horse that transmutes into like a bushel of autumn leaves that kind of deteriorate as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, and all of you see, well, with the exception of maybe Ari, notice that this thing slams into the horse of Tord. Tord is bodily dismounted from his horse, thrown from the saddle, and I think you can make a dexterity saving throw to see if you stay on your feet or not, I think is the ruling.
I will. I'll do that.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. A natural 20 plus
So yeah.
3 from my aura and plus 4, so 27 total.
Okay. So maybe you were somewhat even expecting this. Or maybe it's a part of the magic or something that kind of lets you know that you're going to need to prepare yourself to be dismounted. And as you are thrown from the saddle, you manage to get your feet underneath of you and even kind of position yourself so that you can almost kind of like land in a small sprint, kind of like, take the impact of the flinging and kind of, use its momentum to just kind of like carry you onto your legs. But you manage to keep your stance without any problem. As these leaves kind of like blow across like this tall grass that forms this clearing and kind of disappear, almost like the smoke that's smoldering from the grass around the tree. Okay. Last is the one that is charging Eddard's horse. What is your horse's armor class, Eddard?
I'm not sure. It is the Angorian steed, like kind of.
It's an
like
Angorian
towards-
steed as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's probably the same armor class, 11.
Armor
Probably
class
so.
11, HP 19.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Okay, it hit.
This is towards Dad's horse. Go easy.
Oh, no. Well, it's definitely the lowest that I've rolled on the damage so far. Okay, so it was a ram. So that's going to be initially 10 points of bludgeoning. Another 6 points of bludgeoning. So that's 16. So I think it's still alive.
It's alive. Like 3 hit points.
But it needs to make a strength saving throw. Now, I believe because it has 4 legs that it has advantage on the saving throw.
Okay.
I think that's the way that it works for horses. At least for strength saves.
Do you know the modifier, Baron, off the top of your head?
The modifier is +4.
+4 for the strength save. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I rolled an 18.
So not only does this horse take this hit and continue to live, it continues to stand, despite the fact that this thing has rammed into the side of it and has pierced into its body with these antlers. The horse is definitely bleeding, and probably not doing great. But this is no mere horse. This is no ordinary, noble's steed. This is an Angorian steed, and these things are not afraid of battle. So even though this thing is horribly injured, it is not freaking out, and it is not trying to run. So it is still underneath your control. Okay. So that was these creatures' turn. Tord, it is now your turn.
So I know you said I landed from a dismount, but I would like to kind of move backwards a bit and say that the momentum of it colliding with my horse, I used to throw myself forward because I had my lance out. So I think that
okay.
I am now jumping through the air, lance
Sure.
in hand, you killed my fucking horse.
I love it. Yeah, so you're coming down on this thing lance first.
14 on the die is still incredibly high.
It should work.
I'm looking at 20, 22.
Yep. Absolutely hits.
Definitely going to pump a level 3 Divine Smite into this.
Okay, makes sense.
But first, the damage. So it is 10 points of piercing damage, 8 points of radiant damage from my improved Divine Smite. That goes on every attack.
Okay, excellent. So that's 18 so far.
An extra 3 points for my Crusader's Mantle of radiant damage.
Okay.
And then
I've got it at 21. And you're juicing it with
level 3
smite,
Divine
right?
Smite,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
13, 16 points of radiant damage on top of that. From the Divine Smite.
Okay. 16. So that's 37. Okay.
My lance takes purchase. I sink it as far as I can into the neck of this creature, and I don't hold on. I dislodge. If I have to, I'll use my bonus action to draw my sword. If I can do it as a free action, I'll do it then.
Yeah, it's a free action to draw a weapon. So do me a favor real quick. Roll me a, let's see, what, roll me percentile.
Sure. 72.
72?
Yes.
Okay. So you drive your lance down through this thing's body, and again, the body itself is almost somewhere between leather and wood and bone. So it's not hard to drive your lance through this thing. You drive it all the way through and into the ground. Your lance does not break. and this thing is now effectively pinned in place. Basically, with this lance kind of like driven through its rib cage and into the ground beneath it.
My second attack, I will use my longsword. You see me kind of like land, pivot on one foot, and like dash forward again, sword in hand, brandish. You see like the gleam of the steel in the sunlight. This is going to be still outrageously high, 22.
Will also hit.
That will be 8 points. No, not 8 points. 12 points of slashing, 2 points radiant from the attack, plus another 1 point from the Crusader's Mantle. And fuck it, I'll use my last spell slot to pump a level 3 divine.
Okay.
That as well.
It sounds like you're sitting at 15 already.
So plus another 12, so another 27.
27 points. Good grief. Okay. Okay. So after having lanced this thing into, like, basically holding still, it's thrashing around trying to free itself, but to no avail. You have just enough time to almost casually kind of draw your blade and take a very precise swing at this thing, and you can describe how you undo it.
It's nothing flashy. Actually, I lied. It is going to be flashy. The blade strikes, and there's a roll of thunder. And the smell of ozone breaks the air as like this thing is struck by both Adring and the lightning bolt, and like it is left looking very similar to this tree adjacent to us, just a smoldering ruin. And Tord hardly misses the step, because I would like to use whatever movement I can to move next to Dane or Eddard, somewhere in between them. I know Dane got pulled 10 feet away from me, but I'm going to move kind of maybe in between them to split whatever distance I can. I would like to hit them both with my aura, which has, I think, 10 feet on either side. I should find this out. To increase their saving throws and damage.
Yeah, Paladin's aura starts at
within
10 feet,
within
but I know
10 feet of me. Yeah, it's within 10 feet of me.
Yeah, at some point I think it increases, but I don't remember what level that is. Okay, so with it being so close, I think that you probably would have been able to hit both initially, but because Dane has now been pulled 10 feet away, you'll have to basically choose which of them is in your aura and which is not.
I'm actually probably going to prioritize Eddard in this situation, because this is a big creature and Dane's fighting his sister.
That's fair.
Beat her ass, bro.
Okay. So Tord moves up to beside Eddard, or at least close to where Eddard and his horse are kind of tangling with this creature. And it is Eddard's turn.
Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of agency here. I want to say that since Turek stayed standing, I would have liked for when the ram comes, like the horse kind of sees it coming and it legit just head down, just like ready for the charge, and meets head on head with this creature.
Sure.
And while there's like this stalemate, Eddard uses the moment to kip up, and he stands atop his horse, and he draws from his back sheath a Faladar, and I would like to attack.
Absolutely.
So, a couple of things. Would this count as a flanking attack?
No, but because Tord is with you, I think as a rogue you get to claim it as a sneak attack qualifier.
Right. Yeah, I'm just trying to see where all my damage lies here, but let's see if I hit first. All right. Let's see. 21 to hit.
Yes, that will absolutely hit.
Okay, so going to do a lot of things here. For the damage, it will be 10 slashing. For the sneak attack, it will be an additional 4 points. I think there's one more thing I could do.
It's a D4 of radiant damage from Crusader's Mantle.
Nice.
Where's this other thing? I lost one of my spells.
Oh.
Psychic Blaze. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend one of your Bardic Inspiration die to add an extra 3d6 psychic.
Ooh.
So
All right.
I'm going to roll that. Uh, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 additional psychic damage. And also, I will expend this thing that I can use once per long rest with the sword. Any creature hit must make a strength saving throw. And a DC is 8 plus my strength, which is not very high. So it's a 7.
How much was the psychic damage again?
14 points.
14 more points. Okay. So you've got that, and then what was the thing that you just put on there?
Oh wait,
7
DC,
points.
It says a strength saving throw. DC equals 8
I
to
see.
strength or Dex plus proficiency. So would that be?
Oof.
I'm trying to figure out. Dex plus proficiency.
What your DC is? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I'm just reading the.
So as a bard, it should be queued off of your charisma, I believe. So it would be your charisma modifier plus your proficiency plus 8.
Holy shit!
That's his spell saving DC. The
Is that
spell
what she's
itself,
asking about?
the spell
I'm
itself
talking
gives a
about
DC.
the one. Yeah, the one from the sword.
Oh.
It says a DC is 8 plus strength or Dex plus proficiency.
Oh,
So that'd be my
you're talking about
dexterity
this sword.
modifier plus
Okay,
my
hang on just a
proficiency.
second. You're wielding Elfadar?
Faladar,
right?
yeah.
Faladar? Okay, let's see. Your action to make a whirlwind attack against all creatures. Any creature hit by this attack must make a strength save. Take an extra. Oh, okay. So, yeah, it'll be your strength or dexterity modifier, whichever is higher, plus your proficiency bonus, plus 8.
Okay, so 8 plus 2 for 10, and then my proficiency is 4, so 14 total for the save.
Okay. So this needs to make a saving throw, strength saving throw at a DC of 14. All right, let's see. No, it failed.
Oh my god. Okay, so that's 2 additional d6 bludgeoning
Okay.
for another 12 points.
Okay. And did you get the D4 from Tord's thing?
Oh no, I didn't add that to anything.
Okay.
Hold
Go ahead and
on,
roll
let me
that. Y'all are crazy. Good grief.
A 4.
4. Okay. So 44 is what I have total for that.
Oh my god.
So
I think that's
it
the
is
most
still
Eddard has ever
alive.
done.
It is still alive.
Okay.
But yes, I mean, like, you have like cleaved off one of its antlers with this motion that you've made. And
Can I just do a little bit of flashiness real quick?
please, absolutely.
So Eddard stands the back the horse, right? And this is the first time he's ever wielded this sword, literally outside of the practice. And as he unsheathes it, like, leaves start to rustle along the ground. And he just takes like a jump from the back of the steed, twisting the scimitar in his hands, and he just kind of cleaves off a good chunk of the body. And there's like a big explosion of leaves all around, just a big twirling vortex. And it would push him, let's see, 15 feet away from the wielder and also knock it prone.
Wow. Okay, cool. Does it need a secondary saving throw to see if it goes
No, that's
prone or
all
not, or
for
is it
that one
automatically?
saving throw.
Okay. So, yeah, you sweep across this thing, and these leaves that you're talking about kind of like rush into this creature and kind of slam into its body, kind of sliding it backwards against its will. You know, kind of like its feet don't move, but it drags backwards, kind of like leaving this kind of smoothing of the long grass kind of behind it as it's forced back 15 feet. What a round. Okay. Two of these things still stand. Lonnie still stands opposite Dane. We are at the bottom of the round, and it is now Ari's turn again.
All right, so I'm imagining that the thing is going to slow down after it knocked me over so that I could spin around and, you know, do it again. So what I'd like to do is jump up and run after it, hoping to catch it when it slows down, and I want to jump on top of it. Meanwhile, I'm pulling up my sword.
Okay. It's gonna jump on top of this thing. Let's see. It is size category huge, so definitely not a problem. Plenty of surface area. Roll me a acrobatics check.
Beautiful. And I did check up Bane. Bane is for saving throws and attack rolls.
Okay, good. So not ability checks.
Nope.
Good to know. Thank you.
Oh, I rolled a 16 on the die, so that is a 24.
Okay. So yes, with practiced ease, though maybe not with a creature like this, you bide your time, wait for the creature to slow down and begin to turn, and you're there waiting, and you manage to like hook, you know, your hand around one of its antlers and swing yourself onto the back of this creature, much to its chagrin.
Beautiful. Now, while I'm on there, can I now attack it?
So,
or is that my action?
I think that would probably qualify as your bonus action. So you can still have your main action to take.
Okay. Then I will, main action, I am going to do my 2 blows. One with the sword, and the other one, it's almost like a follow-up hit. Like you first, it's like kind of like a punch, backhanded punch into the creature to kind of brace myself, and then it's the follow through with the stabby sword. So I'm going to do 2 attacks. First one unarmed, and the second one with the sword. So the unarmed one is
And are
12 to hit.
Do you already have advantage on these attacks?
No.
Okay, you should, because you're literally like on its back.
Okay.
So.
Okay, and then that makes the unarmed strike a 26 to hit.
That will hit, yes, absolutely.
Okay. D8 plus D. Oh, I have to subtract 4 though. Just a second. Okay, I subtract 4 from the thing, so it's actually a 20 whatever. So
okay, yeah,
still hit,
it'll still hit. Yes.
Okay. And the roll 1 on the die. So the 5 points of, I guess, magical bludgeoning from my hand as I'm kind of punching into it and gaining purchase, but then follow up with the short sword into its back, which I got a 19 on the die, which is a 27 minus 2, 25.
Yes, that still hits, absolutely.
Okay. And this one, D8. I've already used my bonus action. I am going to make a key, use a key point to give it an extra D8 on the damage. I think that's what it said, right?
I'm sorry, I might have missed the damage from the second one.
I haven't rolled it yet. I'm just making
okay,
sure
you're doing it now. Gotcha.
Yeah. I have lost it. Yes, a key point to make an extra D8. Okay, so
the
sword is going to do 7 plus 4 is 11 points of magical striking damage.
Okay, and that's with that D8 that you were just mentioning?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, okay. 11 more. Okay. I have it at 33 currently. Okay. This thing is definitely banged up, missing, large chunks of its kind of wooden, leathery flesh, but it is still alive and is still very, very angry. Okay, that brings us to Dane.
So, am I considered grappled at the moment?
I don't think so. I don't think the spell keeps you that way.
All right, so she just spiked me and whipped me
Kinda-
closer.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So there is one of these beasts that Ari's riding and fighting, and then one of them near Eddard.
Yes.
And Tord is next to Eddard, and Ari's kind of like 45-ish, 60 feet away, bronco busting in the edge of the woodlands here.
Yes, exactly. Kind of right at the tree line. And the one that is nearest Tord and Eddard is now like 15 feet away from them.
Okay. And also really torn up if I were to like look over my shoulder at it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think, we see Dane sort of taking all that in, these magical thorns of this. I imagine it's like the same thick bark from her skin, the same sort of burnt, dead, petrified bark that we see on these creatures is what makes up like the thorns and then the vines of this whip. And it doesn't always have to be my way, Lonnie. And Dane will turn loose of Celestial as it falls, it dematerializes. I'm not going to fight you. Call it what you want, but I'm not going to physically hurt you. I've hurt you enough. And I won't take any action. Actually, that's not true. I'm lying. I'm going to heal Tord. No, Tord's horse is what took the brunt, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we're good. So yeah, I take no action.
Okay.
I thought all that bludgeoning happened to Tord, but no, it's his horse who went.
She kind of glares at you with these kind of like yellow slitted eyes. Mm-hmm. She says, "You came all this way, talking about how things didn't have to be this way, how you were going to stop me. And now you're just going to stand there."
I came all this way talking about how I was going to bring you home, not stop you.
So now all of a sudden you care about home. You care about bringing the family back together. Is that right? Is that what I was supposed to understand? Now all of a sudden Dane cares about our family and fertile ground?
It's not all of a sudden, Lonnie. It's not all of a sudden. I wanted to come home. But I can't. I couldn't. I couldn't stay. You can see it. You can see it with what you're going through, how you've changed. Something's happening, Lonnie. I have to help.
Yeah.
It means that I can't go home, but it doesn't mean that you can't.
You're
But
right,
it does
Dane.
mean I'm not going to fight you.
Things are different now. I have changed. I've changed because someone finally thought that I was worth their time. Someone finally gave me a real chance to prove what I can do.
What can you do, Lonnie?
Let me show you. She reaches out and attempts to grab a hold of you, Dane.
Okay.
Oh my god. She just fucking rolled a 20.
That's fine.
Okay, so she reaches out and grabs a hold of you, and from where her hand makes contact with your skin, you take 20 points of necrotic damage. As you can feel this, it's actually probably somewhat of a familiar feeling. You feel the life force flowing, kind of ebbing away from you. This is chill touch, so you will not be able to regain any hit points until the start of her next turn. As you feel, again, almost your connection with the positive life force that flows through you because of your patron. You almost feel that slipping away, as if trying to grab a hold of something in the water.
So, only because I think this is a good moment. I think as Lonnie does this and she starts to peel and drain and pull this life force out, I think at some point she realizes it's not mine. I've got 26 temporary hit points right this second.
Nice.
Okay. And so I think she sees the discoloration. I think from her fingertips, if we look at them, they look like these pinprick bark looking cat claws that have just reached in, and you can see this spidering vein that looks like roots digging up, and then all of a sudden they just washed backwards. And she still pulls the hit points, where it's vampiric, but they're not mine.
When she realizes this, she kind of falls back a half step. You can see again these eyes narrowing at you as she kind of hisses and screams this kind of, why is everything so difficult with you, Dane? She turns back into these black cats and melts into the grass again.
I don't know if that is an ability or a spell, but I'm going to attempt something when she does it. I'm going to use my reaction. Excellent. And I am not going to counterspell her. I'm going to dispel her.
Dispel. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it says choose one creature, object, magical effect. And then it requires a DC plus 10 plus the spell's level if it's a spell, and it will negate it.
Interesting. Okay, let's see. Okay. Do you have a point of inspiration that you would be willing to spend?
I do.
Okay. If you would do so, I will allow this to work. Because as rules is written, this is a form of wild shape, which I don't think technically is a spell, but if you're willing to spend the inspiration, then I will allow it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you need anti-magic field for it to stifle that. All right, but yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll?
I think I'm going to. I'll roll it as a saving throw.
So it's a DC 17 for me currently.
Okay, perfect. And let's call this, I think this is like a willpower situation, so I'm going to make it a wisdom saving throw.
Okay, I like that.
Okay. She is not proficient in wisdom saves, but she has a decent enough wisdom, oddly enough. What did you say your DC was?
17.
She fails, but not by much. So I think the transition almost like starts. You can see like the bark on her arms and stuff begins to turn into this kind of coarse black sleek fur. But as she goes to do that, your magic takes hold and forces her out of this change. And instead, she kind of like falls into the grass, making a mewing noise of her own that is somewhere between a cat's and a young girl's.
Okay.
Okay, so that was her turn. It is now the creature's turn. All right, this one that has been shoved backwards and knocked prone after having charged into Eddard's horse is going to kind of slowly roll onto its belly and force itself back up onto its feet, where it kind of shakes its head. Pieces of its like bark-like leathery body kind of fall away from it into the grasses, and it is going to kind of take almost like the way like a bull would. It kind of like paws at the earth and is then going to charge forward. It is only going to be able to move the 15 feet that it was moved back, so it will not be able to qualify for its actual charge ability, but it is going to come in and attempt to take a claw swipe at both Eddard and Tord.
Would passing by me to hit Eddard count as a chance for an opportunity attack?
I don't think so, because you moved up beside him.
Sure.
So I imagine that you guys are not that far apart.
I'm grasping for straws to fuck this thing up.
Fair. Okay, Eddard, what is your AC again?
It is a 13, but I have a reaction I would like to use.
Okay, sure.
I would like to invoke my Warcaster feat, which lets me use a reaction to cast a spell that normally would take an action.
Okay.
And
very cool.
I will use Dimension Door to I grab Tord and I sweep my cloak across both of us, and we kind of just poof in
disappear.
A cloud of purple mist. And I would like us to appear next to Lonnie.
Okay. So you appear kind of, you disappear, reappear not far away. This bear, realizing that it has been duped with its first swipe and no longer having a target to choose with you and Tord gone, it is then going to turn its secondary paw swipe at the horse that you just left behind. With an AC of 11, that is definitely going to hit this horse. This is probably going to be an emotional moment. Okay. It takes 23 points of slashing damage from this thing's massive claws.
Yes, it's very dead.
Yeah, this horse kind of somewhat valiantly that survived this first assault upon its life stood its ground. When Eddard and Tord disappeared, unfortunately, there was just nothing else for this creature's wrath to be focused on, and it brings it to the ground underneath its powerful claw, just slicing downwards between its ribs with these huge claws. Okay, now the one that is with you, Ari. You are currently on this thing's back. Let's see. It is going to try to reach around twice with its neck and maw, and is going to try to bite at your legs where you're kind of like holding on to the middle of its body. I'm going to give it disadvantage because it doesn't have reach on its bite, so it's going to be a little difficult to reach you on the back.
And my AC is 19 at this moment because
okay,
of my
perfect.
agile parry.
Thank you. Okay, so the first bite is going to miss. Ooh. You said 19?
Yep.
Yeah, the second one, on the other hand, is going to hit. So it tries to snap at you once and misses, and it kind of throws its upper torso kind of up in the air a little and then rears back and snaps at your leg, making contact with your shin and biting down with these kind of exposed skeletal skull-like teeth for 20 points of piercing damage.
Oh!
It kind of rends its mouth free, kind of forcefully tearing some of the muscle from your calf with it. Okay, that brings us to Tord's turn.
So to clarify, there's 2 of these creatures left, and then
Correct.
Dane's sister. And we just dimension doored where?
Right beside Dane's sister.
Yeah, so
the two of you, Dane,
I took
and
us I'm sorry. I took us and brought us next to Lonnie.
I'm gonna punch her. I'm just gonna punch her in the mouth.
She's currently prone, so
but I get advantage on punching her in the mouth.
Yes, you do.
21 to hit.
Oh God, yes, that hits.
It's only at 1 point of damage plus my strength mod, I think.
Right. Yep.
I'm gonna punch her for 5 points of damage.
Okay.
You're being a spoiled little brat.
She yells out, "Ow! What the hell is wrong with you?"
No. No, you killed my father's horse. And I'm gonna like rear back. I'm gonna punch her again.
My God. She's still prone.
23 to hit.
Yes.
For another 5 points of damage.
Good grief.
I'm gonna keep hitting you until you get up and apologize.
This is what friends you keep, Dane? She kind of like looks over at you, Dane, like, blood like pouring out of her nose. This is the knightly behavior that you're supposed to be emulating, is it?
The fist of justice is unisex.
Okay. So Tord has now clocked Lonnie twice. She's still conscious, and not pleased at all. That brings us to Eddard's turn.
Okay. Does it look like Lonnie is going to make a run for it? Like, does it look like she's about to get up, or she's about to try and get up?
Yeah, she's definitely trying to stand up.
Okay, I want to cast Whole Person. So Wisdom save of 17.
Wisdom save 17.
So I think technically, next I don't know if it's a melee attack or not. Never mind, ignore me.
Okay. You cast your spell upon her, and you can see it beginning to take hold. Like her limbs kind of start to go rigid. You can, almost like her fingers are kind of like mid-flexed and taut. But you can tell that she's not under the effects of it entirely. She beat your save by 1.
Okay. Are there any trees in the area close by?
Yeah, absolutely. The smoldering sycamore for 1, and then at the edge of the clearing, there's a multitude of them.
Okay. Well, when Eddard sees that the wisps of the purple energy did not get their grasp on her, he kind of just looks at her and does like a quick back step, and I'm going to use my bonus action to hide.
Okay. Yeah, there's lots of tall grass around you too, like waist-high grass, so it's easy enough to literally just kind of duck down, and you are hard to spot. So you could certainly do that too. You don't probably want to go any closer to the sycamore just because it is like putting off quite a bit of heat. Okay. That is Eddard. We're back to the top of the round with Ari.
All right. I'm going to continue to hit this thing. So first off, as a bonus action, I am going to use sharpen the blade. So basically she kind of, it's like split second, there's a little concentration, and all of a sudden you can kind of maybe see this like glinting along the blade of her short sword as it just kind of shines a little bit brighter, or hits the light a little bit differently as the edge becomes much more sharp. I'm going to spend 3 key points to give it a +3 on attack and damage.
Ooh, okay.
So 1, 2, 3, confirm. And now I'm going to again we'll attack first with the sword.
Okay. Don't forget, you have advantage because you're on its back.
Okay, so that will be keep losing my thing. 22. Oh, and the -4. -1. 21 to hit.
Yes.
Okay. Another key point to make it even more devastating. We're gonna blow through these key points because why not, right?
And we do you got him.
8 + 4, 12 points of magical piercing. And then yeah, that leg is, always with the legs, I just can't take a break. She's going to maybe drop down a bit after that slice of the sword, and using her force kind of elbow it as she's like elbowing it in the where she just hit it with the sword, kind of grind that elbow into the wound.
Okay, sure.
Unarmed strike.
Still staying on its back though, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, now I'm lowering my center of gravity a little bit more, hoping to make myself a little bit smaller of a target. That is a 16. Oh, I have to roll the -3, so that's actually a 13 to hit.
Ooh, okay. So that would have hit, but if you would please describe to me how it is that the bane from this smoldering sycamore is what makes the difference, and you miss this attack.
I think she lands, and you can see that like her aim is perfect, but at that last moment, it's like her mangled leg gets hit by, I'm imagining he's still like kind of racing around, maybe get hit by a tree branch or something, and it just causes her to like wince at the wrong time and misses that attack. It kind of fizzles, and she slides off the hide of this creature.
Absolutely. And like when that tree branch kind of like scrapes against like the exposed like torn flesh of your calf, there's that kind of, that like when the edge of your vision kind of turns red when you like get an intense amount of pain, except that your vision kind of blanks for just a second, and you actually see the picture like in your mind of this smoldering sycamore carved and burning and smoke roiling out of it. It's just like the briefest flash, and then it's gone, but it was just enough apparently to throw your attack off, and you miss.
And you know what I forgot to do on that hit was the +3 that I had spent the key points for. So take 3 more with
additional
sword. Yeah. And that lasts for a minute or until I do it again.
Okay. All right. So that thing is still kicking. It is still alive. Both of these are more or less damaged to the same degree, but both of them are still in this fight. So that brings us to Dane's turn.
So I think Dane steps towards Lonnie, where she's struggling to get up and sort of in the grass, and he's going to reach down and lift her by her arm to her feet.
She's not difficult to kind of lift up and like kind of pick up to her feet because she's not very big and doesn't weigh much, but she is definitely fighting you. She's squirming around and she's trying to like scratch at you with her hands, which do end in these kind of claws. She's again almost like trying to wrestle a cat, trying to give it a bath or something. It's just absolutely just trying to tear you to pieces.
You want to just keep laying on the ground?
Out of like frustration and anger, tears streaming down these kind of slitted eyes, she just looks at you and she screams, "What do you want from me, Dane? You leave, then you come back."
And I'm probably going to leave again, but I'll be back.
Are you serious? Then why do you even care what I do? You're going around doing whatever it is that you think you should do. Why can't I do the same?
I don't go around doing what I want to do, Lonnie. I want to go home. I want to go back to playing knights and squires. I want to go back to laying under the tree and reading the stories and us giggling. I want to go back to hiding in the... Do you remember that winter we took Mom's white fur blanket? It had just snowed. It hadn't snowed in 2 or 3 years. You had to have been, 4 or 5? And we took her white fur blanket. It was after that bear had come after you. I think it was the next winter. And we snuck out. We had taken some cheese and some bread and my book. And we snuck out. And we got real low in the snow. We pulled that white blanket of ourselves. And we could hear Mom out there looking for us. And the villagers, and they were frantic and they were looking for us and they were so scared, and we were just giggling under this blanket because it was funny. And I remember we fell asleep and they looked for us for hours. I've never seen Dad so angry and relieved when he found us. He had been gone. I don't even know how he got home so fast. We were in big trouble. But I want that again. I don't want these villages full of women strung up by their necks, children in cages, people being burned. Do you know what a witch light is, Lonnie? It's when they take a woman who practices magic and they rub her down in different plants and oils. They put her in a cage and they light a pyre underneath her. Eventually, that fire climbs the bottom of that cage. And she catches on fire. She screams. But eventually, the fire takes away the air from her chest. But that oil that they rubbed on her makes sure that her bones keep burning. They do that in hopes that other witches will come. That's one side of what's going on.
It's
Because
the side that
people are
you're fighting for,
scared.
Dane. That's who you're supporting.
No. 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 Right now, we should be riding north to figure out what this plague is. The very thing that brought us together, in a sense. The thing that kept me from going home. We should be going to see what we can do to save villages and cities and kingdoms. But instead, we're out here because some little girl meant more to me than all the stories and all the kingdoms. And because of that, they came with me. They should be off saving the world, changing it, fighting for a future where these things, and I point at the tower and the tree, aren't always in opposition and trying to kill each other. Mommy, there's no such thing as bad magic, just bad people who use it, and you have to make that choice. And look what choice you're making.
She believes in me.
So why?
She tells me that I'm strong, Dane, that I'm capable. Look at what I've done.
Look at what you've done.
This. But
look at what you've done. And I point towards a dead horse. I point towards my friend whose leg has been partially shattered by this beast. I point to like the pricks of blood running out of my body from the thorn whip. Yeah. Look what you've done.
You can see the look on her face is definitely anger. But when you point these things out, particularly when you point out the damage that's been done to you yourself, there is a shift in her expression to one of concern. But she contorts her face and kind of screws up the furrows in her brow. She shakes her head. I hate you, Dane.
I know.
So much.
I know. But I would rather you hate me and go home and live a long life with mom and dad and whatever beautiful man it is that chooses you and whatever children you raise. I'd rather you hate me forever than for you to die out here. Because it won't be by my hand, but someone. Because there is a reckoning coming. Lonnie, go home. Hate me from home.
She takes half step back, kind of pulls her hands up almost aggressively. You can see that she almost has this thought to begin casting again. This contortion of her face showing this anger and this seething rage that she's feeling. And it falters. And so does her body language. And then you can see the emotion well up inside of her and take over. She screams up towards the sky, and as she does so, the two creatures, known as Mawhorns, collapse, no longer held together by the magic that had formed them. And Lonnie falls to her knees, sobbing.
I think Dane falls down almost on top of her. And before she can cat claw him or anything, he just drags her like into himself. I'm sorry. I will always be sorry. And I'm gonna start pouring my healing magic into her. I know she's not super hurt, but I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I'm gonna take a chance here. I'm going to pump all 72 points of it into her. And a little bit into myself as we're sort of sitting in this like cocoon of amber light, the ground sort of becoming a pool of water that sort of miraged the heat effect. I never meant to hurt you or mom or dad. I saw you when I died, Lonnie. You're one of the reasons I came back. Not the quest, not the sword, not Camagel, or I came back for the people that I love. You and mom, dad. Better than Ari and Tor and Sir John. For those children in the cages. The women who have been burnt. I love you, Lonnie. And even if you hate me for the rest of existence, I'll still love you.
And as we see,
You are strong. You are very strong.
As we see Dane holding and consoling his sister, the rest of you free from the threat of the surrounding battle, we kind of pull back away from this clearing that surrounds the smoldering sycamore, and I think this is where we're going to take our break. So we're going to take 10 minutes. This has been phenomenal. I'm so thrilled with how this has played out. 10 minutes, go to the bathroom, refill your drinks, smoke them if you got them, kiss your spouse, etc., etc. Thank you all so very much for staying tuned. Stick around. We'll be back with the second half of Beneath the Banner's Shadow, episode 35, Forfeiture of a Sister. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the second half of tonight's episode of Beneath the Banner's Shadow. This episode is titled Forfeiture of a Sister. Things have gotten a little heavy outside of the town of Wintingham, in the clearing that surrounds the place that is currently known as the Smoldering Sycamore. Dane is knelt in the tall grass, cuddling his young sister, who up until just moments before was fighting against you with several creatures that she appears to have had some kind of control over. Two horses were lost in the battle, one of which was very corporal, the other was simply undone. Its magic could no longer hold it together in this plane. But the fighting has now ceased, and Dane and Lonnie are knelt in the grass. So as the two of them are having this moment, what is happening with the other three of you, with Dane, Eddard, and Ari?
Well, I imagine the thing just collapsed like out from under her. So she's going to pick herself back up, limp over to wherever it was where this started and her bow is, pick that up, find herself a nice rock to sit on. She then pulls out a flask, unstrappers it, takes a big swig, and then pours the rest on her, well, not the rest, but some of it on her leg, and proceeds to bandage herself up. Meanwhile, cursing in Elvish under her breath.
Tord will approach and offer to heal you.
I can help you with that.
She stops mid-curse and just looks at him. What are you going to do?
You've seen me do it before. Right the wrongs of your malady.
It's pretty bad.
I've stitched up worse.
I have 55 available points of lay on hands,
30 will do.
and you shall receive. Blessed be, my child.
Oh, you have no idea how good that feels. Thank you.
I do. I've done it to myself a lot.
What was those things? And is it over?
Yes, and I don't know.
I think Eddard would come out from the tall grass, and I think it's crazy. His first instinct is to walk straight up to Tyrek on the ground and kind of just kneel beside it and examine the scene. I take it it's pretty bad. I mean, he was on his last legs when the last hit came through. There's a lot of things that Eddard is feeling. Eddard has never had kind of like a companion like this. He feels a deal of shame from having let this horse fall in battle when it was going to protect him. But at the same time, he feels like it felt honored to do such. I know that Angorian steeds live and die by their rider, so he feels good that it died the death the way it did, but also there's a large tinge of guilt about how he kind of just left it open there. And I think he takes Garfrin from the sheath, and he cuts off a decent portion of the mane and stuffs it into his pouch. I think he kind of just sits there and mulls over what just happened. And there may even be a couple of tears. You know, it's hard to imagine that in such a short time, something that some people would see as a steed, like just a simple horse, would have made him feel this kind of a connection. But it definitely hurts. And I think a lot of it has to do with not only the bond he had with the horse and how, you know, it came to be his horse, but, you know, it was Tord's father's horse. So yeah, he's going through a little bit right now.
Is there any kind of a reaction from Tord involving this steed?
Tord would have focused first on Ari, stitching her back, and then approaching Eddard from behind as he's kneeling down. He puts his hand on Eddard's shoulder, grasping comfortingly.
It was a good horse. Served his rider well.
That it did, though I can't feel that I served it the same.
Eddard, you're alive. An Angorian steed will face its death for his rider to live on.
Will you walk me through some of the processions that go along with laying a horse like this to rest?
Well, you should say that because I wanted to cast ceremony.
What is that?
That is a spell that I've had prepared for fucking ever. I've never used.
I've never heard of it. What is it?
All right. I need 25 gold worth of powdered silver. But I imagine I have some treasure on me that I can do that with.
I would imagine that you guys have, coin and stuff that you could probably grind up.
So I can perform a special religious ceremony that is infused with magic. When I cast a spell, I choose one of the following rites. The target of this must be within 10 feet of you throughout the cast. It takes an hour. So I'm sure we'd be able to move on while we finish this. But so one of them is funeral rite, where you can touch one corpse and for the next 7 days it can't become undead by any means other than a wish spell. But I don't think I'm necessarily super concerned with that, as one of the other options would be atonement. And I was hoping, rather than like do it on a person, use this horse's body as a catalyst to do it on the area of the scorched sycamore, to kind of like chill out some of the latent arcana effects going on here.
Okay, interesting. Okay, do you have a point of inspiration?
I think I have 3.
Would you be willing to spend one?
I'll be willing to spend all 3 of them.
Shoot, I'd spend one. I'll spend one.
Okay.
I will say that I have to touch what it says. Touch one willing creature whose alignment has changed, and then I make a D20 Wisdom Insight check, and on a successful check, I restore the target to its original alignment. So I still have to roll.
Can I argue that maybe the creature you touch could be that creature that I turned into a regular tree earlier, since I blasted all the evil magic out of it, and that can become like the focal point for this?
Sure. I'm fine with that.
And maybe even like I also have excess inspiration points, so I'd be willing to spend one in order to have some of the extra healing magic that I'm pumping out help infuse his spell as we like attempt to rid the taint of this area.
So I
Okay.
think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to describe what I'm doing, but if you have something before that, please do.
No, I'm going to add something to however it is that you describe this. So please go ahead.
I think Tord starts by assisting Eddard in moving this horse's body to like the base of this purged entity, and then spend some time using an axe to like chop up the remaining, retrieve my lance primarily, but to like make like a pseudo wood pyre for the horse, to kind of cleanse with smoke and fire, which I think is probably a fairly important thing in Angorian culture. Like not so much like a raising as is like the smoke of like, incense or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone wants to add anything, please go for it.
I'd just like to say that while you're doing that, because it's great and I like that, I would have gone up to Eddard, maybe as we were walking in and seeing what he did with the horse's mane, and I would ask him for the hair. And while they're preparing the body, I would like to make an amulet, if you will, out of the horse's hair.
Yes, I think he took like 2 handfuls. He would give you some.
Yeah, so I'll be doing that while using my elvish arts and crafts to make something fancy.
A macaroni necklace. Okay, so yes, Tord kind of goes about preparing this pyre, and you move the horse's body as best you can onto it. It takes some doing, but you are able to perform this ceremony to cleanse this area as best that you can from the magic that has permeated here. You watch as the smoke kind of rises up from this pyre, and as the body of the horse seems to somewhat be consumed, the glowing ember-like colors of the interior of this tree slowly kind of die, becoming dimmer and dimmer until they go out entirely. The smoke from this pyre is kind of caught up in a little bit of a breeze that blows across the grass of this clearing, the kind of wind that causes the grass to kind of sway in unison for a time, and you think that you see the smoke take on the shape and visage of this horse that once belonged to Tord's father, and it begins to slowly kind of move through the grass, kind of towards the smoldering sycamore. And as it gets closer, you realize that there's a spectral figure that steps out from behind the tree. And this woman is strikingly beautiful. She seems to kind of persuade the animal to come to her. And as the horse approaches, she reaches a hand up almost in slow motion and kind of strokes what is in this form still a very full flowing mane of this horse. And she kind of seems to almost speak to the horse quietly for just a moment as she strokes its face and its neck several times with her transparent hand. And then as she finishes doing so, she stops and looks in the direction of all of you. In particular, her eyes rest on Eddard for a long moment. Eddard, you see similarities in this woman's face to your own. She then turns, and the horse following her, they walk back towards the sycamore, and both of them disappear into the tree, fading from view.
Ooh. Did anybody else just see that? Eddard's eyes kind of just rest, like his eyes kind of followed her as she led the horse along through the tree, and then his eyes just rest on the tree, his jaw slack as he tries to figure out what just happened.
I think Tord like stands like brushing his knees off. He's like, it's not uncommon to see what many believe is the spirit of the horse riding off into the great plains beyond. What did you see?
She took him through the tree, and then they were gone. She looked very familiar. I can't put a finger on it. I must be misremembering something, but that makes a lot of sense, what you said.
Eddard, if you would like, you can make a history roll.
Sure.
Anybody who saw the visage of this woman can likewise roll, if you'd like. Ari, if you do so, this would probably be at disadvantage.
25.
Oh my god, okay.
Yeah, nerd.
Yeah. Yes, growing up in a library, doing a lot of studying and research on the way the people who were important to the kingdom and things of that nature, you actually recognized this visage. Not only did you notice certain facial features that were a little similar to your own, but you recognized by the dress that she wore and everything that this was Gabrain. This was the wife of King Mathuran Gabrain.
And she looks like Eddard?
There definitely are some facial features that are reminiscent.
Oh.
Wow, I got chills. Incredible. I think he keeps it to himself when he makes the revelation.
Okay. So, what then? What's next?
How did the sycamore react after the ritual had, been taken care of?
Again, the kind of smoldering, glowing, burning of it seems to have faded and gone out. So the tree is now kind of like just a charred tree. but you can feel if you go up to it that though the warmth is still present, it's like the warmth of a dying fire. The heat is leaving it. You think, it seems at least, that it has been dealt with. You're muted, Baron.
I guess we should probably report back to Sir John what's going on.
He's going to be a little bit angry. He missed out on all the fun.
He does get upset when he misses out on the fight. You all right, Ed? You look a little pale. You seen a ghost?
Well, you did say that whenever the horse passes on, that you sometimes can see it riding off into the plains, and I think that's what I just experienced. And yeah, it was a little much. I'll be all right.
No, it's not your fault. Here, I finished it. And she'll hand you back the horse hair. It's been basically knotted up, and it's like a tassel for the end of your sword to put on your pommel.
That's what he was going to do anyway.
It's all elvish knotwork and everything, it's exquisite. If I do say so myself.
This is immaculate. Thank you, Ariel.
Now he'll always be with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, go ahead, please.
I want to summon my horse back.
Yeah, you've got the spell slot to do it, absolutely.
Yeah, fuck it. Tord does like a hand whistle, I imagine. Like he cups his hands together and blows in, and a loud wailing whistle. You hear the gallop of hooves and the tussle of leaves as this horse rides forth from the trees. Very much identical to the horse I had before. To which Tord mounts.
Shall we?
So, Dane, what are you doing with Lonnie?
Well, assuming she's not cat scratching me anymore.
The fight seems gone from her.
I'm gonna put her up on my Angorian war horse that we all have now. We were all like, let me get one of those.
Eddard. Everyone except Eddard now.
It's too soon.
But I put her up on the saddle in front of me, and I guess I'm gonna ride her back to town for now.
Eddard, you can ride with me.
He does.
You could ride with me.
Hold on, I'll tell you who you rides with in just a second. He rides with Tord.
There's a little flash of jealousy thrown at Tord.
It's not, you can't you kind of can't read it on his face, but for some reason he mounts up with Tord, and when he sees you, he's like, it's just a bigger horse. It'll
Ari just, you say it's a bigger horse. She kind of just looks down at herself and at the huge horse she's riding. Like it's just kind of shrugs.
I
Are you
forgot
also
everybody
riding-
had Angorian steeds.
Are you also riding an Angorian steed?
This is when
believe
Ari
so.
develops an eating complex.
Starts bulking the horse.
Okay. So you mount back up, ride the relatively short distance back to Wintingham, where Sir John is finishing up the whatever business it was that kept him in the city while the rest of you had gone out to the woods. And you're able to, if you'd like, the live elves will make certain to return Lonnie back to fertile ground, give her means of getting home if you'd like. Trying to remember if your course would take you back through fertile ground or not. I'll look at the map. So if you go by the road, then you would actually travel back through fertile ground again before heading north to Warrenton.
So I think Dame would approach everybody. Like maybe at this point, like Lonnie's like passed out in a bed in the inn, like, you know, just drained from everything. I paid one of the scullery boys from the inn pretty well, like 2 gold to sit outside that room, and like if he hears the like he knows he's a scullery boy. He knows what a window sounds like when it's opening to sneak out. You know, like he's been there. So I set him up as my little guard. Go back downstairs to talk to everybody. So I know it's a lot to ask, but I'd like to take her home.
Of course. You shouldn't even have to say it. Of course we'll help you take her home.
I don't think it'll delay us too much more.
Even if it did, it's okay. She's family.
If Steve remembers correctly, Candace Tully is often in the capital, and that's where Reagan is currently as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, cool. Would it be possible that you could get Reagan to find my aunt and let her know that we found Lonnie and that Lonnie's going home?
For some reason, I remember Candace sometimes being in the castle proper.
Yeah,
Or am
she's
I-
like one of the ladies for one of the other ladies.
Okay, so I'm sure Reagan has seen her about. I will
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, I will send her a message immediately. And Ed kind of closes his eyes, and he will cast sending using a what level spell slot? 3rd. He'll send a 25 word or less message to Reagan, telling her that she should seek out Candace Tully and that we found Dane's sister and are bringing her to fertile ground. Did anybody count the words on that?
Nope.
I don't think it was.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can send this message out with just a moment's concentration, and after a brief period of time, there will be a response that comes back and essentially says, I will find her and let her know. I hope that everything is going okay and that you are safe. Talk to you soon, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you guys probably see like Eddard, since the all this stuff has been happening with the horse, kind of didn't look himself And when he closes his eyes to send the message and he waits the response, you see just the small, like the faintest smile on his face. And he opens his eyes, and there's that like wisp of purple. She will seek her out at a. Well, it's probably about evening time by now, huh?
Yeah, if it's not already, it's probably approaching.
Yeah. Essentially, he'll tell Dane that she will seek her out as early as possible on next morning.
Okay. So, is there anything else that you're kind of doing with this night that you have here? It's kind of what will essentially amount to a quiet evening with just the group of you at this tavern in Wintingham before you head down for the night.
I think there's something Dane wants to do as soon as pretty much everybody else has gone to sleep. But
Anybody have anything else? No? Okay. What's Dane up to?
so I'm going to actually ride back out to the scene of it all, and go back to that little tree monster turned tree turned altar turned whatever it has become at this point. And basically I am going to sit out there and with my water skin and just sort of water this tree and let it run over my hands and little bits of this rust going down to it, but at the same time sort of talking to Camagel / Celestial / my grandma, like that whole gamut of entities that are very confusing. And it's more that wandering prayer sort of thing, right? Where you're expressing but asking questions, and just it's more a self-reflection, like you're grappling with things that are bigger than you. So were someone to have followed him, there's a lot of apologizing, there's a lot of asking my patron to to watch over Lonnie, to obviously help her, because magic is like a seed, and it grows into something that is just as dependent on what tends it as it is where it's planted. Sort of making that that analogy in his own mind for this. And then let's see if I can do this real fast. I think if it's cool with you, the flower, let me get out of the way here. The flower that has bloomed on this tree like that, and he's going to collect one, and maybe this is like they're like a little vine that's starting to creep across and preternaturally starting to end up on some of these other trees. Like it's a vine that is sort of growing across these the remnants where the magic is, like almost like it's following another force. He's going to pick one of those flowers and take it back with him.
I think it's like while you're picking this flower that a voice kind of catches you somewhat off guard. When you turn, standing kind of at the edge of where the tree line is for this clearing, where you're kind of a little bit off into the trees, you see the same spectral woman kind of standing at the edge of the clearing. When she speaks to you, Dane, it's almost a different language. It's old Vykarilian.
I speak that.
I know. That's why
Catches
you
me
are
off
able to
guard.
understand. It's one of those things that you have only rarely probably ever heard actually spoken. You know, it's mostly just something that you've read, and it probably takes a little while for you to realize that you're registering even what she's saying. But she says, I've always loved it here. It was wild and untouched. Untamed. And unafraid.
Are you? Were you? So he says "are," then he sort of changes. Were you? Are you? From here? Was this your home? You came to this temple that used to be here often.
It was not my home. No, I frequented here before before my time here was finished. This tree was planted by my husband as a marker, as a token of love.
Is she referring to the smoldering sycamore?
Yes. At one time there was a temple on this hill. A temple to a goddess who embraced the wildness of this place. Goddess Garmoyan, who is the overseer of animals, of wildlife.
Yes, I'm familiar with her. I've read about her. My mother spoke of her.
It is difficult to tell how much time has passed, what has changed. There's something familiar about you.
And I look at her and like maybe I see some of like the Eddard in her.
Mm-hmm.
You too.
She smiles. There's something amiss in this land. This land that my husband and I worked so diligently to build, to grow. There's a sickness that is taking hold here, and I'm scared.
I was too. For a long time. But I'm not anymore.
Perhaps
You said that your husband and you planted this tree as a symbol of love. And I think that's what we need. I don't know what the sickness is, but we'll find it. We'll stop it. I promise you, Lady
Mathuran Gabrain.
And like, I think as she says that, I'm going to like Celestial like appear, or Camagel, I guess, because I'm gonna let that happen. So instead of letting it look more like Celestial, it's gonna look at that ethereal sort of not fully formed Camagel. And I'm gonna hold it out in like both hands.
She
Maybe
takes a couple of
this is why.
yeah, she takes a couple of steps closer, but still not leaving the defined border between the clearing and the forest around, almost as if she can't.
Right.
She kind of inspects the sword from however distant you are. I see. You are the king, then.
Oh no. No.
She kind of looks confused for a moment.
No.
Yet you carry the king's sword.
I don't carry the sword. It is as much me as I am it. I serve it. The sword. What it stands for. What it means. What it will mean. I'm just the hand that guides it.
I see. There was once someone who spoke as you do now. Similarly, that he did not wield the sword, that the sword wielded him. And through this sword, he did bring together Vykaril. It is good to know that however much time may have passed, there still is hope at combating this sickness. The one you travel with, who laid his horse to rest, sent its spirit to me. Who is he?
His name is Lord Eddard.
Lord Eddard.
Yes. Man, like Dane's really torn whether or not he should say this to this like strange woman, but yes, Pendrake.
Did you say the name Pendrake?
Definitely. It's been about a recent time that he discovered his birthsake.
He is the descendant of Godfriend Pendrake.
I believe so. Everything we've seen would point that way. The tombs, the dagger, the hunter.
If a ghost could grow pale, you see her do exactly that.
Is there something wrong with that?
I believe that he may also be a descendant of mine.
Oh, Well, if that's the case, do I know her name when she says it? Like, I mean,
I imagine so.
yeah,
Probably every bit as you would know Mathuran Gabrain's name.
right. And she is his counterpart, right? Like,
She was his queen.
yeah.
Yes.
But if you, I
If
understand.
you see him again soon, if you travel with him, I would assume that you would. Would you please? I don't even know what to say. Just tell him that I am proud that he is trying to be a part of the solution to help Vykaril.
I will.
I should go.
Before you do, why are you bound to the wood?
This is my resting place.
The tree specifically?
Yes, as I said, my husband planted it here as a marker. I lie beneath its roots. It has nourished itself on the body that I left behind. You see, I can see in your face the same look that I saw before when my transgression was discovered. I could not be laid to rest in the crypts of Galalon because of this act. It marked me as a traitor, as treasonous to go against the king. But this was an act of love. It's difficult to describe, but as I stated, this place, this wood, I loved it so dearly, and Mathuran knew this, and so this is where he laid me to rest. I remained at peace for so long, but when that was built, she kind of looks back towards the obelisk that rises from the hill. I could no longer rest peacefully. This just disturbed the flow of everything here. Just like the sickness that runs through Vykaril itself.
I'll I'll give him your message.
Thank you. As I said, I should go. I have kept you long enough. She turns.
How big is that obelisk?
It's sizable. It's probably 30 to 40 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably about 5 feet-ish or so square at its base.
I'd like to do two things here. One, the smoldering sycamore, is it still like radiating a ton of heat?
No.
Okay.
It is not cold, but it's like a fire that went out, hours ago.
Okay. So I have my two flowers I was planning on taking with me. I'm gonna go to this tree and using Camagel, I'm going to dig into the bark of it until I get to the heartwood of the tree. And using the richness of the recently burnt bark and some dirt from the ground here, last little bit of water from my water skin, I'm going to plant this portion of the viney flower into that tree. Kind of as a symbol of her love for Mathuran, as well as, obviously a Pendrake boy, and mine from my sister and my friends. I'm gonna tuck that in there. And I'd like to walk towards this obelisk. I don't have a super high arcana, but I do have a 18 with the roll. Do I think there's more than one spell active on this? Does it seem to give off more than one energy? Can I feel that?
It's difficult to feel exactly what it's doing, like what is its goal, but without a doubt it is very powerful magic. Your guess is that this was put in by multiple people, like whatever was going on whenever this was built, essentially, whenever it was imbued with magic, that multiple people poured spells into it.
Okay. So I just look at the tower and like, Dane is considering attempting to try and dispel this magic, and realizes that's probably far beyond what he can do. And I mean, at this point, he's a pretty potent spellcaster.
Mm. Well, and also, the closer that you stand to this, you realize that there is this disconnect.
My power works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just look at it and soon. I'll topple you soon.
And we see where this ghost stands at the two flowers, the thorning vines that you had planted at the base of this tree. As this ghost kind of stands there and watches you, hears your proclamation, and then she looks back at these flowers and she says simply, "Untamed and unafraid." I think that's where we're going to end tonight's session. Okay. That was crazy. I was not expecting to get the chance to drop that bomb tonight, but super happy that that opportunity came up. This was fantastic. Thank y'all so much. It's been so long since we've gotten to play. I'm really, really happy that we managed to get a really solid session, and not just with some great role playing and some, really great emotional moments and some character exposition, but also some combat as well. It's rare that we get all of that in one episode, so I'm really, really pleased. I'm going to pass things over to my players so that they can, once again, touch on where you might be able to find them, what they might have going on, any of those kinds of things. Any of them that mention a channel, you should be able to find the link to that down in the description of this video. Please do take the time to go check them out. Give them the likes and the subscriptions and the loves and the shares and everything, because they're absolutely worth it. So please do so. So we're going to start in reverse order. And Steve, take us out.
We're out. Take us out. I dropped the bomb. Great session, Jeremy. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been a long time, like everyone's sort of said. So, it's been, I've been wondering how this is going to play out with Lonnie. It's been like, we'll get to that next time. And then we don't have it next time. And it's like, wait a minute. No, it's great as always. It's funny how, like, after all this time, like I think Josh put in the comments, it's like one answer, 2,000 more questions. Like every time we're like, let's move forward. Wait a second, what do you mean there's more information? And like how like tightly it sort of weaves us all together is pretty great. So I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a blast. I love this game. It's only been 4 years. We got another 16 in this easy, something like that, mathematically.
It seems that way. Yeah, man. Again, like even a lot of this kind of stuff are things that I kind of planted a long time ago. They're seeds that I kind of planted at the beginning based on the information that everybody gave me, and how I was able to try to bring things together. So a lot of these things, these bombs that we're getting to, I've been sitting on for 3 or 4 years at this point almost. So when the opportunity comes up to be able to finally give one of them to all of you, it makes me giddy. Because again, it's a secret that I've been sitting on for God knows how long. So I'm really, really happy to hear that even though it might raise a lot more questions, that it intrigues you that much as players still after all this time. That makes me very, very happy to hear. So thank you. All right. Next up, we have Josh.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, so long time ago, 4 years ago, when we filled out our questionnaires, there was a trinket that Eddard had, and that trinket was a dagger that no matter how he tried would not cut him. And to think that that seed was planted there and grew into something like what we just witnessed is just absolutely masterful. I don't know, even I can't even, the words fail me how you could have done something like this. Just incredible, extraordinary. I had chills. I cried. I was on the edge of my seat. I was like 35 episodes in, and that bomb, like you said, just went off. And when it goes off after such an incredible build-up, the repercussions that it has on the players and the world is just immense. So thank you for that. Thank you for this game. Thank you all for playing. You guys are some of my closest friends. This has been a journey, and to know that it's not anywhere near over brings a lot of joy to my heart, because it means I get to keep playing with y'all. So that's about all I got. Thank y'all.
Absolutely, Josh, and thank you. Yeah, again, like this only works because all of you did that work up front in order for me to try to build things out of it. But also, the only reason that it works is because all of you continue to engage with all of that, which is one of the reasons why this campaign has gone on for almost 4 years, is because every little nugget that I'm willing to give to all of you, you're willing to turn into a momentous thing for your character. And so we've been able to deal with these very profound plot developments for each and every one of your characters. Yeah, but it's so endearing because, again, it makes them all feel so real. It makes their lives feel lived in. And it brings so many layers to the history and the lives of the people that live in this setting. And it's one of the reasons why, again, 4 years in, why the investment in this game is still so strong. So thank all of you very much for being those kinds of players, and being willing to bring it every single time that we sit down and play, even if it is 2 months in between a session every once in a while. I appreciate that dearly. Okay, speaking of appreciating dearly, next is Karen.
I don't have much more to say than that. This was great. That bomb was, chef kiss. It. I love how these stories are starting to. Not only like you're dropping bombs, but we're seeing how our stories are starting to intertwine with one another and why we're here together. And I can't wait for more bombs. Like, hopefully, not another 4 years, but you're dropping them constantly, so it's amazing. I love this game. The one thing I do ask is that we don't wait 2 months to play again.
That would be my preference also. Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. Yeah, I'm just all of y'all. I'm in love with y'all. Thank you. Speaking of being in love with, last but certainly not least, the glorious bearded Baron.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Something like that. I was talking to Jason Osorio today about long-running campaigns, and like ultimately what it comes down to is player buy-in. Because like a DM can get hype if everyone's like, no, you have to run this. Like, this is what I want to do, and giving them ideas. And like a questionnaire definitely incites that and like sets it up for success. It's like, give me a list of shit you want to see so I can put that in there. And then like 2-4 years later, when it's like, oh my God, that thing that I wanted to see. Like, I remember something was said about a dragon, like, for the first time, and I just like, oh my God, I said I wanted to see a dragon. And so on top of that, like, we are interacting with the world, and there's like, my character has now lands in the land of, like, in the world of Frostfield in Vykaril, where like that's a stagnant point that I got to participate in. And so like, in the same sense, like, my character isn't going to do something without proper motivation. Me as a player, I'm not going to do it without proper incentives for the game for me. And like, it has hit those tones, even if it takes a while to get there. I want to play because I get what I want. And that's dope. And I like it. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you. Yeah. Again, the only reason that it works is because y'all are willing to engage with the things that I'm laying down in front of you, and building it out of what you gave me helps to ensure that you're going to do so. But the fact that you're still willing to invest that kind of interest this many years down the road, that speaks volumes to all of you as players. So thank you very, very much for, again, just for being so... Amiable's the wrong word. That's not the word that I want to use, but that's the closest that my brain can grasp onto at this time.
Stubborn. We're stubborn.
Maybe a little of both. But it's helpful, Sometimes you got to be. Yeah. This is just such a great game. I've never run a game before where the player characters had the opportunity to not only level mechanically, but to level within society, like to earn title and lands and things of that nature. But I really wanted, because that's such a big part of Arthurian legend and things like that, I really wanted that to be not necessarily a focal part of the game, but for it to be featured in the game. And the things that y'all have been involved with and the kinds of things that you're doing, it only makes sense and has kind of developed in a really organic fashion. And it's been really fun to watch and see how it's impacted and changed who your characters are and like what their expectations and their plans and motivations are. Yeah, it's just a ton of fun. So thank you all so very, very, very much. For anybody who may have watched this game, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you watched live along with us this evening or you may be watching at some point down the road in the future. It is deeply, deeply appreciated. I can't wait for more. But until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.